So I always start with so.
Maybe we'll actually get a blooper reel this week.
Knows what they want, and they know what they want to do. And after a couple of hours, my kid comes to me and he's like, they all ask the same thing. How do you deal with this? This is so boring.
Everybody wants to know if they're going to get their boyfriend back.
Bruh.
Well, yeah, a lot of time. Am I going to get married? You're 6. What do you want?
Not nuts in the mental sense, but men's in the nutty. You know what I mean.
You good?
Nuts in the nutty sense.
Yeah.
I can't talk.
No.
I'm okay, guys. Really, it's been a long day.
Sure.
Yeah.
When God made this, John Kerry. Is that his name, John Kerry?
No. Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. I got the J right. So Jim
John
Carrey.
Carrey is a politician.
Hey, well, he's definitely not Zen then. Did you hear that?
No, what happened?
Oh, good. I have some inappropriate
Sound effects taking place.
sound effects, yeah. I'm Scary Terry. You could run, but you can't hide. You could cut that out. That are encased in glass. That just looks so wrong. I'm sorry. I use the tall.
See, my brain doesn't even go there, so I didn't catch it.
Mine goes all the time. It lives there. It is the gutter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Metaphysical Mama and Scarlet. We are here to talk about all things metaphysical, mysterious, spooky, and in between. As usual, I am Scarlet, and that is my Metaphysical Mama. Today, we shall be discussing addiction to psychics. So, I shall hand it over to you, Metaphysical Mama.
Okay. What is addiction? And why do I say you could be addicted to psychics? Because most people don't think of that as a thing. But similar to being addicted to things like gambling, people become overly dependent on information or different guidance that they might get from a psychic, a medium, anybody in the metaphysical arts. This is the same type of addiction that you get if your parents never let you make a decision on your own. So you're always reliant for outside input as to what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, all that kind of stuff, because you've never made a decision on your own. People who come to psychics all the time, who are constantly calling and that kind of thing, there's two types. And one is someone who they know what they want to do, and they're not going to wait for your information before they make a decision, before they move forward. Because they're like, if you can't take them right, then they'll be like, all right, and then they'll just do their thing. But they're looking for something that's hidden, maybe that they can't see. The second type that calls all the time are the types who do not want to make any kind of a decision on their own. Like they're terrified of doing anything by themselves, or they just don't want the responsibility of that. And I learned early on when I first became a professional back in 1994, one of my first clients was like, we did a pretty good reading at first. I spent like 2 hours with them. It was him and his mom and a lot of information. But then like he would call me and ask me things like, am I going to get in a fight today? And I'm like, do you want to get in a fight today?
That's a weird question.
Well, no, my neighbor was looking at me funny and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do you want to get in a fight today? If you don't want to get in a fight today, you don't have to get in a fight. If you want to get in a fight, there's plenty of people out there ready to go fisticuffs with you. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that we as readers, part of our responsibility is to let people know that they have freedom of choice. And I'm not going to say nothing is predestined or definitely has to happen. However, right. I'm going to say 98% of stuff is not predestined. And there's so many different routes to get to the different places where you want to be. Hence the tree of life, 21 routes to any one destination, but you're still ending up in the same place, even if you're going in completely different directions to get there. And I think that's something that a lot of readers fail to express when they're talking to their clients. And it's more like, well, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Because what we're reading is we're going into the energy and we're following the energy to see where it's leading right now. Now, if I tell you, oh, and I have a good example of this. I have two good examples. So the first is there was an actor who came to a psychic that I knew, and he was starting to do pretty well. And she was like, wow, you were just going to blow up. Like, you're going to have jobs all the time. This is your career. You're on the right track. Because he thought it was predestined, he stopped going to auditions and stuff. Like, he kind of basically stopped trying because he thought, oh, it's in the bag. I don't need to do anything for this. Oh, wrong answer. And then he was mad at her because he lost his momentum. And it's like, nobody told you to stop doing what you were doing, but nobody told him to keep doing what he was doing either.
You're not going to believe this.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that story in acting class. My acting teacher told that story. He was one of her students.
Wow.
He lost his career because he was convinced that it was just in the bag and he didn't have to do any work, and that it was
that
was the first lesson I ever had when I started.
Oh, good. I'm glad somebody's teaching it, because it was just ridiculous. It's like, why would you think that you didn't have to do anything to get this?
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't understand that type of thinking, but that's me. I don't know. I don't believe in things just falling out of the sky. Not to say that I haven't had really amazing serendipitous things happen just out of the blue. All of a sudden, something I was thinking of all of a sudden manifesting.
Yeah.
However, you need to be revving up your energy in order to do that to begin with.
Yeah, you have to be doing the work and working towards that to get that back. That's part of karma, and that's part of the cycle of life.
open to whatever is going to come.
Yes.
So that's the other thing is, like, if you are so like, all right, I'm going to buy a house and I need $500,000 and I'm going to do this to make the money and it's going to come in this amount of time, and you're real structured with it, then you're probably not going to succeed.
Right.
Because you need to focus on what is the end goal. The end goal is to buy a house. Do you need $500,000? No, it would be nice to have $500,000 buy a house, but you don't need that. What other ways are there to get a house? You might get an inheritance. You might have somebody gift it to you. You might win it in an auction or something. You might get it because your friend is being foreclosed on and they're doing a short sale and they give you first option to buy. And you're buying a $500,000 house for $200,000. There's so many different ways that things can manifest and can express themselves. To think that there's only one way to do anything is insane.
Yeah.
It's just insane. So I'm going to read the actual definition. I don't remember which website I got this off of. The meaning of addiction is a compulsive, chronic, psychological, or physiological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects, and typically causing well-defined symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea upon withdrawal or abstinence. The state of being addicted. So what happens if you're addicted to a psychic or having, like, needing that? Well, most of the time you end up spending a lot of money.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to somebody who's really good. We charge a pretty penny. You could go to, or you might end up seeing someone who we call gypsies. That is a term just meaning that they are transient, not anything against that culture. And it's just a term that I remember from when I was younger. So I
Yeah.
don't know any other way to say it. But basically, these are people who are usually the ones that I've met are very talented,
Oh yeah.
but they will hook you in and tell you you have a curse, you have this, you have that, and I'll fix that for you. Anybody who's going to tell you that they're going to manipulate another person for you, that is not good karma for you, is not good karma for them. And 9 out of 10 times, they're not actually doing any of the work to do that. Anyway, they're like, nothing's happening. So they bring you in, you go in for your $5 palm reading, and the next thing you know, you're getting a $200 tarot reading. And then they're telling you, well, it's $1,000 for this special gold infused candle for me to burn away this, and then it just keeps going on and on and on. I know there was a case in Philadelphia. I don't remember what year. I'm thinking it was the late 90s, probably. And this woman, several people started reporting her because she was scamming people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Ooh.
And my thing is, at what point did you not think that this was ridiculous? At what point did you
Yeah.
not, like, where did the brakes not come in? And it's because it's like getting addicted to drugs where it's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. So you only have to be right a certain amount of times. And it's only like 30%, 35%, which a
Yeah.
regular person can be right that many times with that percentage. But it's enough to keep you moving towards that dopamine rush.
Yeah.
The other thing is that when they stop seeing them, when they pull away from the psychic, a lot of these people who are more, I'm just going to call them shysters. They are scam artists, basically. Will pursue them or threaten them that they're going to have a curse and this, that, and the other thing. Now, are curses real? Yes.
Yes.
Are they going to bother using their energy on you? Probably not.
No.
Because they're making tons of money. Like, these people make hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And like I said, they are gifted, so they can pull things out here and there, and you're like, oh, that's right. And you can feel that it's right and that's truth. But then they weave it into something that it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. So when I first started, one of the things that I did was I would tell my clients, I do not do readings more often than once every 3 months. And if it was a full reading, unless we're going in on something very specific that we're looking at, once every 6 months to a year. I'm not doing, which is probably why I never got rich, but that was my ethical standard. I do have people, and I've had people who come to me when they're going through like legal altercations, and I will look into things and be like, yeah, you want to find this evidence. No, you don't want to find this evidence. Maybe you want to go here, you want to go there. I'm not dispensing legal advice. What I'm doing is helping them see something maybe that they missed. Again, that's a good use of a psychic, is to try and see something maybe that you missed. I love doing house blessings because those are cool. And I will do them from a distance. My clients will have me on the cell phone, like video the house as I go through, and that's like, I'll do it from here, and they'll be videotaping the house. Or I've had clients who are away and I'm in the house and I'm videoing it for them, showing them like where I am and everything. So that was always really neat. I love doing that kind of thing, because then when you go into your house, it's already cleared. You're not dealing with ghosts or anything that's not supposed to be there. And it's set to your energy for your highest and greatest good. So that I recommend getting house clearings and blessings actually on a regular basis. I'd say at least once a year. I grew up in Catholicism, so the priest would come around every year and bless all the houses. He would just go from house to house to house and come in and do the blessing, which I always love that.
And if you're metaphysically inclined, you can do the clearings and the blessings on your own as well.
You can. I would suggest, though, for an initial blessing and or clearing, to ask a professional who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because if something is there that is more negative or more substantial,
And you don't know what you're dealing with. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
you'll know right away if there's something there that you're not supposed to be messing with, because things will start to happen that were not happening before. And
Hmm.
at that point, you can continue what you're doing, but make sure you have somebody on dial up that can come and help you
Yeah.
or that you can
Like
get out of
you.
the house. Yeah. So you do need to be careful with that and look for what are the things that are are important or necessary for me to do. And you can grow to do it yourself, and you can learn how to do these things yourself. When I have clients who are dealing with a great deal of negativity or different entities and stuff, I teach them what I'm doing. Now, they still will call me for backup if it gets like a little crazy,
Yeah.
but I feel like I need to give you the confidence that if you come across something like this again, you know what to do with it. Again, that's why I'm not rich, right?
Right.
Teach a man to fish and he won't come buy from your fish store. So,
Right.
and the withdrawal effects, like when somebody is really into this, basically, there's got to be this feeding on of energy and energy exchange between the reader and the person. Now, a reader could be completely blissfully unaware that the person is totally addicted to psychics, because there are people who are like that who don't use the same reader all the time.
Hmm.
And they will go from reader to reader to reader to reader. In my circle of friends, when we find somebody is doing that, they're shopping psychics to see who's going to tell them what they want to hear. We will let each other know. We'll give name, phone number, and everybody's like, that's unethical. It's not unethical when somebody has a mental illness that you're feeding into and
Yes.
making worse by answering the phone
Yeah.
and by allowing that to go on. Plus, sometimes a person could be dangerous. I
Hmm.
know of a psychic who had a call about someone that she read because they were very fixated on someone. They were stalkerish, and there was going to be some, we'll say, physical necessity to somebody else being there and for this person to
Oh
know
my.
that they were being stalked. Yeah.
Oh my.
So, although we don't have the same legal responsibility, we do ethically.
Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like we do ethically. And I do teach after I do the soul tarot, a lot of times I'll do my ethics class, because a lot of people who want to become professional readers, they'll want to go into it. And in the ethics class, we talk about like how to say things to people, how to keep people like on a more even keel. If you're talking about stuff that's real emotional, you never leave somebody crying unless they're crying tears of joy,
Yeah.
and about how to work with somebody from where they fall and they're upset and build them back up to where they need to be able to function. So there's
Hmm.
a lot that goes into it that when you're thinking about, oh, I'm just reading tarot cards, you don't really think of.
Yeah.
But information comes out sometimes that you're like, whoa, I do not want to know that. I don't want to say
Yeah.
that, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and the reason why they have withdrawal symptoms when it does happen is because you have a physiological reaction and an energetic reaction to that connection and what's going there. So, some people may become addicted because they want to feel connected to someone
Hmm.
and they want to feel seen.
Yeah. It can be very validating.
Hmm.
Speaking from experience, it was for me
Hmm.
learning how to do this just for myself. And like I said before, I had a lot of anxiety when I was coming out of the background that I came out of, because I
Hmm.
grew up without having my needs met emotionally.
Hmm.
And, you know, having something that could give me the answers right there that I could access on my own was
Hmm.
great. It really was healing for me. And then once I got to the point where, after I had been reading every night to learn, I
Hmm.
got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm good. I can take a break for a little bit, you know, because it is tiring. You can get very worn out from it.
Yeah.
But having gone into that from a place where before I wasn't physically seeing any psychics because I was still too afraid to see a psychic because I still had that in my brain. Also, I hadn't become aware of the fact that I myself am one. I was going on Instagram and I was coming across metaphysical Instagrams and people who were reading tarot. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Let's watch this. And
Yeah.
a lot of the time I would come across ones that had things that were resonating with me. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I would just keep watching, And after a while, I was like, I think I need to learn how to do this for myself because this is getting boring. They're all saying the same thing. I have the message.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, shut up.
Well, that's why your sibling, when they were young, they were born being able to read. But when they were young, we did a couple of things together, a couple of gigs together. And I was like, oh, this will be cool. Like you could do the younger kids, I'll do the adults, da, da, da. And after a couple of hours, my kid comes to me and he's like, they all ask the same thing. How do you deal with this? This is so boring.
Everybody wants to know if they're going to get their boyfriend back.
Bruh. Well, yeah, a lot of time. Am I going to get married? You're 6. What?
Why do you care?
Yeah. There's, and the thing with that is then my child started reading adults and he's like, it's not much better. I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah. It's all the same stuff all the time because it's about connection. It's about relationships. It's about changing your situation. It's about finances. It's about what are you doing either for school or for work? Like, do you have a real career? Is there something I'm supposed to be doing? How do I make this work?
Yeah.
So there are certain things that are just human questions. They're just human things that we're asking about. Still. We need to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you're alive, you're going to have those questions.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll still pull cards for myself in regards to situations like that. And sometimes if I'm not getting answers and I'm really stuck on something, I'll ask you because, you're good.
Thank you.
And your family, and I trust you. And I know that I can come to you with things that I wouldn't want to go to anyone else about. Because I know that you know that I'm not nuts.
Well, you are a family member. So, yeah, it's really difficult for people. I mean, I feel bad for people. I had one lady when I was still living in Hawaii, and she called me, and she was the first person I got after I raised my rates. And I was like, oh, somebody's playing full boat. This is awesome. And she was in such a horrible situation, and it just was terrible. And I was talking to her about it. And I said to her, I'm like, well, if you go this way, this is what's coming up. If you go this way, this is what's coming up. She's like, wait, what? I said, well, you need to make this choice. You're at a choice point right now. You go this way or you go this way. No one has ever told me that I could decide for myself.
No wonder she was in a bad situation.
And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. She's like, let's go this way. So we went this way and we looked at everything, the things she would need to do, what she needed to watch out for, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, all right, now if I just stay where I am and I'm going in this direction, then we went that direction. She's like, that is really cool. She's like, I'm glad I called you. Nobody ever told me that I had a choice. Everybody just told me, oh no, this is what you need to do. You need to stay in the marriage. You need to put up with the man. You need to do X, Y, and Z. The other thing about choosing a psychic, which I've done a lot of talks on that and stuff too, is that you need to recognize we are people also. Yeah. So we have our own ideas about things. I am 56. I am single. I was engaged one time in my life and I was proposed to probably about 8 times. I obviously am not a big marriage person. Because I feel like if I'm going to enter into that kind of a relationship, there needs to be mutual trust and mutual respect.
Especially because getting married these days can be dangerous if there's not that.
Well, I mean, it always was. It always has been.
Exactly.
And the thing is, most people get into this fervor where it's something they really look forward to and they really want. And for me, there's like a fear there. I don't
Yeah,
want to
me
get
too.
involved with somebody who's going to hold me back or who's going to sit on
Mhm.
my tail and not let me fly and that kind of thing. And I know
Yeah.
I do it to myself. I'm a woman. I will give myself over into a relationship and try to do everything I can for the man I'm with. And then figure out that he's not reciprocating. He's not doing the same for me. He's being
Yeah.
supported and he's sitting on my head.
Hmm.
So I need to be very careful of that. And that's why I look at marriage a different way. Now, does that mean when I give a reading for somebody and I see that there's a problem, do I automatically go to, oh, you need to get divorced? I do not, but it would be really easy to do that because it's really easy, especially when you're first starting out, for your own ideas and ideals and fears to leak into the reading. So you have to be
Oh yeah.
really aware of that. And you need to feel in yourself like, is this truth?
Yeah.
And really good readers they'll do the reading. And if they feel like they're not really tapping in, they're not really feeling, they'll give you the option to bounce and give you back your money. Because they
Hmm.
might be like, I just don't feel like we're really connecting. I'm not really, doesn't happen often, but if you have somebody who's really authentic and they start feeling that way, they will tell you. And then you might say, no, no, let's keep going. Let's see what we can get. Or you
Hmm.
might say, thank you. Yeah, none of that was resonating with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's another thing. An addiction of any kind is not good for you.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
if seeing readers is more of a habit because you're afraid to make decisions on your own, you're afraid to look at your direction on your own, that's when it becomes a problem. When you can't make a decision unless you get the okay from a reader of some kind.
Yeah.
The other thing I see with mediums, especially, we talked about mediums a couple weeks ago. A medium is a person
Hmm.
who talks to dead people. That's uh, the definition that we're using.
You
Mediums,
Haley Joel Osment gif.
yeah, yeah. What I see with that people fall into is like they want their loved ones around so much that they're not letting them go, and
Hmm.
they'll go to a medium like weekly to talk to Harold. Like, leave Harold alone. He's got better things to do now. There's a
Let the
reason
poor
he
man
crossed
sleep.
over. Yeah. If he wants to be around you, he'll be around you. He'll let you know when there's a message there. You'll see something. Something will happen. Something will flash into your mind. You'll have a dream. So many different ways to connect. And I'm not saying to never go to a medium because a medium can clarify a lot of things.
Hmm.
When you're doing it habitually, when you're doing it, it's like, all right, first Monday of every month, I go see this medium and I talk to my ex-husband who's crossed over. Okay. It's not healthy. You need to
No.
let these people go. And it's especially not healthy if the person feels trapped by the person who's like constantly calling on them, calling on them, calling on them. I had a conversation with a woman at one point and she was like, couldn't understand, why does my father not talk to me? I'm like, how long ago did he pass? Oh, like 35 years ago. Okay.
Hey.
Maybe he has reincarnated already.
Hmm.
Well, I haven't heard from him in years. Yeah,
He might have reincarnated.
he might not be up there anymore. Like, what are you seeking from him? Well, he was the only person who really loved me and understood me. I understand that. Maybe he's leaving you alone so you can find that now.
Yeah, from somebody else
Yeah, because your
or
father is,
something else, even.
yeah, your father is not supposed to be your one and only.
Hmm.
Like, that's creepy.
Just a little. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes they will do that too. And a lot of people will go to psychics just to hear what they want to hear. And they will basically tell the psychic what it is they want to hear and will not stop
The love
bugging
and
you
light people.
until you say it.
Yeah.
You know, we there was this one lady from Georgia and she was calling like there's a whole big group of us that she would call one after the other. And she would call and get you talking and then try to get a free reading. And she was always talking about this guy and she wanted to know about his relationship with somebody else.
Oh no.
Now that's another thing
Oh
ethically
no.
that I think is bad. Like, are they going to stay together? Does he really love her? Da, da, da. None of your business.
Ugh.
It is none of your business. I am not here to poke my energy into somebody else's energetic field. I'm here to read
Mm-hmm.
you and how this relates to you. Now, I don't mind going into him and seeing if he has feelings for you, or if he's, really angry, or if you're bugging him, or what you need to do. I don't
Yeah.
mind looking at that. But don't ask me to manipulate anybody, and don't ask me to look at his relationship with somebody else.
Yeah, that's like peeking through the windows. That's rude.
Well,
Stop.
besides being rude, mentally, it's not good for people. Because if you're
No.
so worried about somebody else's relationship that you want to sit in the middle of the bedroom with them, you're not
That's a you
moving
problem,
on.
not a them problem. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not moving on. And so many times I've gotten clients who are like, well, will this person come back to me? Will she come back? And if I say no, they don't want to hear no. So then they will fight and argue with me about it not being no. I said, well, you can believe whatever you want to believe. This is what I'm saying, and I'm not going to tell you anything else. The
Yeah.
other thing is, I've seen plenty of times where there's no there's no room for reconciliation until there's a time of healing.
Mhm.
And once the person who's asking no longer is pursuing and no longer wants it, but has pursued healing, and they see each other again, then it can happen. So I,
Yeah.
I don't give those ultimates. Like, at some point it can happen again, but you have to let this go. You need to heal.
Yeah.
And this may not be the best person for you.
Hmm.
There's a
Yeah.
reason you're not together.
Yeah. And I've had conversations like that before in the past with other people who were fixated on this specific situation taking place, or this specific person that they wish they could have, but they slipped through their fingers or whatever. And I'm like, look, personal experience, no metaphysics involved, let it go. If you are too attracted to it, you will push it away.
Hmm.
Let it go. If you want it back, you have to give it up first.
Yeah,
That's the
well, because
only
you
way this
feel the
works.
ick. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but it's like you get the ick. It's like,
Yeah.
get
And
your
I
energy off of me.
yeah, and I said that too. I was like, that energetic is going to feel your energy coming and is going to go, nope, and go in the opposite direction. Stop.
Yeah,
You're just messing it up for yourself.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
I
there's
learned that the hard way before I was healed. I know this.
well, and
Don't
so
do
many
it.
people, I mean, it's a human thing. It's just what we do
Yes,
as humans.
it's very human. Yes.
So question yourself when you're going to see a reader, or you're going to get a mediumship reading, if you're going to go get a psychic reading, or whatever the person is calling their reading. Are you going in knowing that you want specific answers? Not that you have specific questions, but that you want specific answers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going to look around for somebody who gives you specific answers, you could pay $10 to somebody on the corner and get specific answers. If
Yeah.
you want the
It may not
truth,
necessarily be what you want, but
then you go to somebody who really is gifted and really knows what to do. I've also had
yeah.
clients who would tell me after I do the reading, they're like, you're the only one who told me this. I saw 4 other people before you, and they all told me the same thing, which was that this person was going to come back. I said, okay. I said, you could do whatever you want. It's your choice. You could hang on and be lovesick for a while, or you could heal and let it
Mm-hmm.
go. But what in your heart, when you were hearing that, well, it broke my heart when you said they weren't coming back. Okay. But did it feel true?
Yeah.
And if you believe the first person who told you that they were coming back, why did you see 4 other people, 5 with me included?
Exactly. Because they were looking for the truth and they didn't want to admit it to themselves,
Right.
ultimately.
Because it was nice
Yeah.
hearing what they wanted to hear, but ultimately it wasn't helpful.
It's always nice to hear what we want to hear, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's what we need because, sometimes the truth has to hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that just makes me think of with
Oh,
that
and Bruce
voice.
Almighty? Was it Bruce
Yes, Bruce
Almighty?
Almighty. Yeah. I was like, what
Okay.
is the name of it? So in Bruce Almighty, there's where God says, you think it's so easy? Here you go. And Bruce like, oh, this is awesome. And he's like, oh my God, look at all these ass yes across the board. And it just wreaked havoc on everything. And he said to God, he's like, I don't understand why everybody's angry. I answered everybody's prayers. I said, yes. He goes, sometimes you need to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, there, sometimes yes is not the right thing, is not a good thing.
Sometimes yes is not the thing that we need at that point in time.
Yes.
I've been
Tough
having
love,
this
baby.
conversation. I've been having conversations like this with people a lot this last couple of weeks. I know it's hard to hear, but sometimes the universe tells you no when you want something really badly, but that's not fair. It doesn't matter. It's what is for your highest good in the end. It's
Yeah,
not for your
fair is
highest good right
fair is
now.
not a thing.
Yes,
Fair
fair
is
is
not a
not
thing.
a thing. Learning lessons is not fair, but we must do it in order to progress in life, in spirituality, in everything. And
Well,
sometimes learning lessons sucks.
and oftentimes the things that are most difficult are the things that really make you shine, that really open you up, that really create you as a person.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need that pushback. We need somebody telling us no. I mean, we don't even have to imagine this anymore. When I was a kid, it was like, imagine if your parents told you yes all the time. There's so many kids now that the parents just don't do anything and don't just say yes all the time.
The permissive parents, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you're not. And the worst thing about it, what they don't understand is that they're making that child feel unsafe. They're giving that child anxiety because that child doesn't have a container to grow up in. There's no
Yeah.
safety there.
They have no lessons to learn from.
Right. Like, what are they supposed to do? It's just like when you don't let anybody make any decisions whatsoever. If you have to make all the
Mm-hmm.
decisions, that is very bad. That is not
Yeah.
good. It is not helpful for their growth or yours.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe what
That's
you're
how you
supposed to
create
learn
an
is trust.
addict.
Yeah.
Yep.
And know why you're doing things.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. Know why you're doing things. And that's one thing that always annoys my mother terribly. Why do you need to know that? Because I need to know why. I need to
Yeah.
be able to see the background, like, how did I get here? Why am I here? And you're not going to figure out why you're here if you don't understand the decisions that got you there.
Yep.
And sometimes it may seem like the worst thing in the world, and it could turn out to be the best thing in the world for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to hear this story a million times. I had a client at the time I was doing like marketing for this singer songwriter, and she's driving. She went through a horrible divorce. She's having financial difficulties. Everything is bad. It's raining. It's cold. It's dreary. She's going to get on the highway and rear end somebody in a car that was about 4 times more expensive than the car she was in. And she's
Oh
like,
my
oh
God.
no.
Oh.
So to make matters worse, the person turns out to be a lawyer. What kind of lawyer,
Uh-oh.
you say? An accident lawyer. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
She
Could this,
really, really hit the jackpot with
yeah,
that
could
one.
this
Woo!
get any worse? So it's cold, it's raining, her car is now not working. He's like,
Oh
well,
no.
come in my car while we wait for the police. It'll be okay. This was before cell phones, guys. I'm old. They start talking, and she starts telling him about what she does and that she just came out of this horrible relationship and she wrote this album, and she's trying to get the album made, but she doesn't, she's got to figure out where the money's going to come from and all this, that, and the other thing, because her husband's not giving her the support he's supposed to, blah, blah, blah. And Laura's like, really? And they chit chat. And by the end of that conversation, he had offered to bankroll her first album.
Whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yep.
Wow.
So while she's crying and thinks this is the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen to me, ultimately, it turned out to be amazing and one of the best things that could happen to her, because not only did she have a lawyer that she was working with who could go over her contracts and stuff, she had somebody who was willing to give her like $20,000 or whatever it was to make the album, and he brought in other people who could help also. So, like, that's amazing. And that
That
was
is
all
amazing.
because she rear-ended him. She would have never met him otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd never know what something is going to gift you.
Yep. Something can seem absolutely horrible, and maybe it is absolutely horrible at the time, but sometimes from dirt grows flowers.
One of the things that happened years and years ago, I had a client come to me. She was very corporate. And this is another story I tell all the time because I love this story. She was very, very corporate, very put together. I'm doing XYZ, boom, boom, boom. And I don't even remember why she came to me, but she was really profoundly unhappy.
Mhm.
She would not admit that, but I could feel she was really profoundly unhappy. Did not like what she did for a living, did not like her life. Basically, on the outside, everybody looked at her life was like, wow, you have a great life. You're making six figures, and this is like in the 90s. So six figures meant something back then.
Mhm.
And you're running this company, you're a CEO, you got this, you got that, you got the other thing. And she just wasn't happy. And I told her, I said, well, everything's about to change. And I said, something very drastic is going to happen to you in about 6 weeks. And usually I'm not good with the timing, but that time I was.
Mhm.
And I said, when it happens, you're going to want to die. You're going to think it's the worst thing in the world. And it's going to take you about a year to come through it. But when you get through it, your whole life is going to be different. Everything about you is going to be different. And you are going to be living the life that you're meant to live. And you're going to be happy and you're going to be glowing and you're going to find the right partner. I said, it feels so amazing to me what your life is going to be like. And she's like, well, I have a partner and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm just letting you know. I said,
Fair warning.
when this occurs, I said, and it's going to be very drastic and it's going to be very, very painful. When it occurs, know that once you get through it, there's so much gold at the end of that rainbow.
Mhm.
So about a year and a half later, I hear from her. And what happened was 6 weeks after the reading, she got in a horrific car accident where she had to be taken out of the car with jaws of life and stuff. And
Oh my God.
it was like she was told she might not be able to walk. It was really, really horrific. She said, and I
Oof.
wanted to die because it was like, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Like, this is my life now. I'm going to be bedridden. She said, but I kept hearing your voice telling me, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. You just need to get through it.
Mm.
She said, and I knew I had about a year. So I made the decision that I was going to recover. And her recovery was amazing. By the time she
Wow.
got done, like she had a little bit of a limp, but she wasn't in a wheelchair, and what ended up helping her a lot was she did art therapy
Hmm.
to enhance her fine motor skills. And she discovered that she was an artist.
Wow, that's amazing.
And she was like, I forgot I could even do that. As a child, that's always what I wanted to be. And everybody told me
Huh.
that, you can't survive being an artist. So I gave it up.
Yeah.
And when at corporate, I said, yeah. And then Spirit came and was like, bam, what are you doing?
Dang. Yeah.
Get back on track there. You're supposed to
Yep.
change the world with your art, not with this stupid nonsense. And so as she was in the hospital and she's doing this art therapy and stuff, people started to take notice of her paintings. And they were like, wow, could I buy that?
Wow.
And thus she became the painter and the artist that she had inside of her that was trapped in the corporate world.
That's amazing.
Yeah. She was like,
See,
thank you.
and people say that there's no such thing as having a destiny as an artist. That is not true at all. My life has been similar, not exact, but similar in the sense that I was always told you can't survive as an actor, you have to do something else.
Oh, yeah.
You can't be an actor, you got to do this. You can't be an actor, you got to do that. You can't be an actor, you got to do this. And I spent all of my life until up about 2 years ago listening to everybody and their grandma tell me that I couldn't be an actor because X, Y, and Z. And finally, I said, well, I'm not happy doing X, Y, and Z and listening to all of these other people. So I think I am just going to throw all of that to the wind and do what I want to do. And by golly, I will become an actor some way, somehow. And I did. And here we are, a year and a half later, and I have officially become an actor. And I am doing things that people told
Actor.
me
A thespian.
actor, following my dream and doing what everybody told me I could not do. So stick it, folks.
Right. That's what my little Gabby just said with her tail right up there in the air.
Yep. Stick it.
There you go. You were number one. You were number one.
Yes.
That's what she was doing.
We will shock you.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness.
That's a good song. I need to get that album out.
There you go. Do you have any questions? Like, how would someone get over this addiction, or how would someone recognize that they had it?
Well, a lot of the time, I would think that they would be made aware of it somehow, whether it's someone telling them that they had this problem, or whether if they come to the realization of it. I don't really know, not having been in that situation. But the one thing I would say for people to get themselves out of a situation like that is start learning how to listen to your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Start learning how to make decisions for yourself. Start learning how, again, to use your discernment. We need to make a GIF or something to put on the screen. Discernment banner.
Yeah.
Use your discernment that you were given by spirit to use for yourself to make the decisions that you need to make in life. And I know that sounds hard. I was raised not to trust myself. I was raised not to be able to make any decisions on my own. I spent 30 plus years depending on everybody else for everything that I was supposed to do, so I thought. And then finally one day I realized I was absolutely miserable and I didn't want to live like that anymore, and I started doing things for myself. I started learning how to read these things to help me tap into my intuition. Not everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
But that just helped me.
See, what's really is terrible now are these things. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Yeah. Because you have caller ID. When I was a kid, the quickest way to really pop into your psychic self is when the phone rang, or if you were like me and you could feel it was about to ring, everybody, well, my house was weird. We would name who we thought it was. It's so-and-so, it's so-and-so. And you wouldn't know until you picked up the phone who it was. And then we'd be like, whoever got it right. And with these phones, you really can't do that unless you leave them like face down so you don't see the caller ID and you guess. And you don't have, like I do, all my ringtones are different for everybody.
Yeah, I do too.
So that, like,
even my text tones are different. So I always know who's texting me.
Yeah, me too. Do I need to look at this right now? Yes or no? And doing things, there's so many different ways to do it where you can just play and learn to use your intuition better. Simple things. Should I go right? Should I go left? When you have a question, seeking the answer in your body and your physicality. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that everybody can get up to the level like of a trained, seasoned psychic. However, we all have intuition.
Yes.
And I teach a class called Unlocking Your Intuition, where we go step by step by step, and we do all different kinds of things because everybody's senses are a little bit different. I hear a lot.
Yeah.
But I also can see things in my mind's eye. I know things. I feel it in my body. I smell things. I can taste it. But because I've been working on this my entire life, like things come online as time goes on. Mm-hmm. And things that I didn't even think of when I was younger. Like I never thought of myself as a healer, that I would be doing energy healing. But now I do that. Why? Somebody asked me to do it. Okay, we'll try it. And it worked. Yep. That's how you figure out what you can and can't do. Don't summon demons or anything like that. You can do that. That's really easy. That is not something you want to do. Don't call to things that you don't understand. Don't do that. No. And don't create thought forms that you're not getting rid of afterwards. They do develop consciousness and then they're annoying.
Yes.
So be careful about where you go and what you're doing. Really vet your teacher to know that they're doing things for your highest good and that everything is on the up and up. We all
If
have
you're lucky enough
moments
to have a teacher.
where we fall. There's so many. It's so easy now, though.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
so easy now because on YouTube, online, there's so much. Zoom, you don't have to be in a physical space anymore to find that.
Yeah.
Mystery Mystics and Metaphysics on Meetup. That's us. So doing all that will help you move away from it. The first step is to make the decision that I don't need this. So I'm going to step away. Is this really so important that I need to do this? Because one of the big things that happens to people is they run out of money.
Yeah.
If you notice that your bank account is dwindling, that you didn't pay a bill because you're paying this psychic person, or you're pulling things out of your savings or your 401k, stop. There's nothing
Yeah.
that's going on where you need to do that. Go talk to a priest or a pastor or somebody, who can help you, or find a therapist, find a really good therapist. I know that for a lot of people, they use this in lieu of therapy because they feel like a psychic can see deeper, like they know more of what's going on. However, not all psychics are trained to know what to do with that.
Right.
And there are times when we're going to tell you, look, you need professional help. You might need
Therapists are
medication.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to talk to somebody who also understands you. Now, what pisses me off is when somebody comes to see me and I tell them that that's what they need, and then they go to a therapist and the therapist poo-poos it, and they're like, wait a second, she was the one who told me to come here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't know. And the person's like, well, should I not be here then?
No, just find another therapist who's willing to listen.
That's how I got here. Yeah. It's like, you don't need somebody who's going to poo-poo you and like make you feel ashamed of anything. A therapist is supposed to lift you up. And not that everything you're doing is correct, but they need to look at you with innocent eyes.
Yeah. And to be willing to call you out on your BS when you are BSing.
Yeah. Your poo-poo definitely needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being with a good therapist is good for that. You might find a really good coach. You might find a really good friend who's just like, where did this person come from? I can't tell you how many times there's so many stories of somebody just showing up in somebody's life and helping them through a hard spot, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Maybe that was their purpose. With that being said, it's not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah.
Step away from the phone. Delete the number from your contacts to 1-800-PAY-ME-MONEY.
Yeah.
And try to see if you can go longer and longer periods of time without seeing the person, without seeing the psychic. If you're seeing them every day, try to go a week without. If you're seeing them every week, try to go a month without. And just spread out the time and see how you're feeling and see what you can do with that. And then, of course, honing your own intuition is good also. But I would say then you may go from one addiction to another, because I know of people who got into metaphysics and meditation and stuff, got in way too deep, because there are places you can get to that are very euphoric.
Oh, yeah.
Where people don't want to come back. And it creates real psychological problems. So there needs to be guardrails for people. And unfortunately, you're going to need to create those guardrails for yourself, or have someone that you trust be there and with you. And one of the big things that I noticed with the psychics who keep charging more and more and more for different things, like, you need gold coins and I need a diamond. I need the Hope diamond to do. No.
Nope.
Not to say that when we're doing clearings and things that we don't have things that we use, like we use candles and sage and oils and things, but it's not a $10,000 candle.
No, and we don't need people to give those to us. We can source them ourselves.
Well, but if somebody's doing the work for you, they're going to do that.
In that case, yeah.
So you don't need a candle infused with gold and stuff like that. There are different ways you could
Ridiculous.
create candles. The most expensive candle I think I've ever used in ritual was $25 or $35,
That's
which
about average.
if you go to the what's it called, the
East meets
something
west.
barn, or no, not East Meets, but like a regular the like
Pottery
Home
barn.
Goods or something like that. But there's a place
Yeah.
that just does the candles, and they do all these fancy, really good smelling candles, and they are expensive.
Oh, Yankee Candle. Yeah.
Yankee Candles. Yeah, there you go. Mart. I don't know where I got Mart from, but okay. So Yankee Candles, and they're just as expensive. And there's no blessing on them. There's nothing really infused with it, the same as like when you get somebody who's really going to make the candle and do like put the different incense and stuff within the candle. And I've seen
Herbs.
candles
Yeah.
done with little gemstones and stuff. There's a place close to here, a little shop in Booth's Corner, and we're in Pennsylvania. And she does beautiful work. I don't know if she's still there, but her candles were amazing. And
Mm.
whatever she charged for them, it was more than worth it because there's so much positive energy infused in the candles that they immediately from just touching them, like they would do something to you. They were great. So I like using her candles. But I also use dollar store candles because I use
Yep.
the prayer candles with the that are encased in glass. That just looks
Hmm.
so wrong. I'm sorry. I use the tall.
See, my brain doesn't even go there, so I didn't catch it.
Mine goes all the time. It lives there. It is the gutter. I can make anything dirty. Anything.
Well, you are family, so that doesn't really shock me. I've met my other relatives. I know how y'all think.
Yeah. Well, and I had when I was a projectionist, I had a boyfriend who asked me, he goes, "Oh, if you could make anything dirty, then make like watching a movie, like talk about it." So, like I described with very sassy and saucy undertones, like the feel of the film and then running the film through the projector head and then the lights splashing on the screen and like all this stuff. And he was like, "Oh my God, you can make anything nasty." Like, yes,
It's
that's my
true.
gift. It's one of my gifts.
We're creatives.
Yeah.
It's not
So,
difficult. All you need is a few flowery words placed in the right spot, and you're gold. I'm
yes,
right too. We can do it.
we can, we can. But that's a different channel. That's just on the Patreon.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is
We're
only going on
kidding.
Patreon.
We're kidding.
Since on YouTube they'll exit out. They'll be like,
Yeah.
"Nope, demonetized. You cannot be on YouTube with this."
My livelihood.
Yes. All right, so back to the subject.
Oh,
We're
God.
talking about addiction and being addicted to psychics and mediums and things like that, getting readings basically, and how that can affect you. It can affect you physically also, because if you're so dependent on it, you're creating like this dopamine in your system, and you're utilizing different hormones, and your body's getting addicted to that. So wean yourself off. If you find that you're spending too much money, stop. I have clients that come to me only on their birthdays, and they will come and get a birthday reading, and I will read for the year, and that's it. I
Wow.
do them once a year. I had one client that I did, it was a really long reading, and I don't know why it was so long, but I mean, hours. We were talking for hours and hours, and 10 years later was when she came back to me. She said, "Everything you said, I couldn't believe it as things were happening, so I never felt like I needed more clarification because we already talked about it." I'm like, awesome. You know, so
Wow.
it depends on why you're going, and really examine, why are you going? Why do you feel the need to go so often?
Hmm.
And there's never really a really good justification, except so the only exception I have to that is like I have certain clients that when I talk to them, it's 15 minutes. So it's a specific question, we're getting the answer, we're looking at it, boom, you're done. And then when they have another question, then I go. So when I'm only doing 15 minutes and we're not doing like a full reading, I don't mind doing those more often. But if you're going to get a full reading and then you're going to ask me the next time the same questions that I just answered last week, that is not healthy.
Hmm.
And because of my stupidity, I tell people that. And I'm like, I'm not going to read you again this soon. You have all the answers you needed. Did something else come up? Is there something else that you need clarification on? So that is something that you really need to be aware of. You have to grow awareness of yourself. And if your friends are telling you, yo, where are you going again? If you're hiding it, or if the reader tells you not to tell anybody what they told you, you can't tell anybody or it's not going to happen. That kind of stuff is what separates you. It's almost like a form of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
They separate you from your friends and family. You're not being open. You start lying, any of that kind of stuff. If you need to be embarrassed about it, you want to stop seeing that person. Stop seeing that psychic. It's like being in an abusive relationship, and you don't need that, because
Right.
then you're paying for the abuse to make it even worse. And that's not even their job. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think we hit just about everything. Can you think of any other questions or anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
That was easy.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. As usual, send us an email, leave us a comment if you have any questions or would like us to discuss any specific topics. You can catch us on Patreon. You can join for free, or you can join up to $7, whichever tier you would prefer. There's all sorts of different options available for everybody.
Please let us know if you feel like you've ever been addicted to psychic readings or psychic work or anything like that, or if you know somebody, and let us know what you think you should do with it. Like, just let's start a discussion. Be nice, but let's start a discussion. And we will see you next time on Metaphysical Mama and Scarlet Raven, because I can never remember Scarlet for some reason.
Bye.
Blessings. Bye-bye.